In the world of Greek mythology, Medusa is a name of terror and disgust. But have you ever wondered why Medusa became the terrifying monster we know her as today? Well, let's get into it. In the old days of Greek myths, there existed three scary sisters that everyone feared, including both humans and gods. These sisters were called the Gorgons, Medusa, Steno, and Uriel. They looked so terrifying and weird that just seeing them could give you the creeps. But among these three, Medusa was different. Medusa was the youngest of the sisters, and she was unique. Unlike her Gorgon sisters, she didn't have the tough skin and strength of a monster. Instead, she had something that made her stand out. She was incredibly beautiful. People, whether they were regular humans or powerful gods, couldn't stop talking about how stunning she was. As Medusa grew up, she became a devoted follower of the goddess Athena. She often played make-believe with her sisters and her best friend, Iphicles, pretending to be the goddess herself. She admired Athena so much that she wanted to be just like her in every way possible. Now, all this while, Iphicles, who was Medusa's faithful friend, had been secretly in love with her for years. Iphicles was afraid that Medusa might not feel the same way, but one day, he finally gathered the courage to tell her. He confessed his deep love for her and how he wanted to be with her forever. At first, Medusa smiled warmly and hugged him back, showing that she felt the same way. But then, her smile faded, and she gently told him the painful truth. "Our love can never be," she said sadly, tears in her eyes. "I long to become a priestess of the great goddess Athena, and to do that, I must stay pure and not give in to any temptations." Iphicles, who loved Medusa deeply, made a tough choice. He decided to support her in chasing her dream, knowing that her happiness mattered the most. Their love would stay hidden, but it would never fade away. As time went on, Medusa reached the age when she could start her training as a priestess of Athena. She entered the temple, dedicating herself entirely to the goddess and her teachings. The path to becoming part of Athena's temple was really tough, demanding her to be pure, disciplined, wise, and perfectly behaved, just like the goddess herself. Medusa, with her unwavering commitment, became an example of what a priestess should be. People were amazed by her actions and discipline, and they respected her deeply. Years passed, and Medusa's reputation as a priestess began to spread throughout the temple's followers. Her incredible beauty captivated everyone who saw her perform the sacred rituals. Her face glowed with radiance, her movements were graceful, and her hair was like the finest silk. Her admirers knew that her heart belonged to Athena alone, so they admired her beauty from afar, without any hopes or expectations. The word about the gorgeous priestess reached far-off lands, and more people started coming to the temple of Athena. They wanted to see Medusa's divine beauty and her perfect rituals in person. Now, while all this was taking place, high up on Mount Olympus, Athena watched Medusa's rise with great interest. The goddess of wisdom had a special place in her heart for Medusa, a mortal whose beauty was only matched by her unwavering dedication. One fateful day, in a grand temple dedicated to the goddess Athena, there was a big gathering of people who came to show their love for their favorite goddess. Athena was soaking up all the love and compliments from her worshippers, feeling really happy. But little did she know that things were about to take an unexpected turn. In the midst of the crowd, a man loudly praised Medusa. He even compared her beauty to Athena's. Athena was heartbroken when she realized that the people weren't there for her, but for Medusa's beauty. Athena, however, understood that it wasn't Medusa's fault, so she decided not to punish her or her followers. Instead, she watched sadly as her own worship was overshadowed by Medusa's looks. Up on Mount Olympus, the gods were watching this drama unfold. Poseidon, the god of the seas, had a long-standing grudge against Athena because of a past argument over the city of Athens. Athena had won that fight and claimed the city as her own, which had fueled Poseidon's desire for revenge. Now, Poseidon saw a chance to get back at Athena by tarnishing her reputation through Medusa. He watched Medusa closely, planning his revenge carefully. Despite being mesmerized by her beauty, his desire for payback against Athena was stronger. One day, while Medusa was strolling along the beach as she often did, a deep voice called out her name. She looked around and saw Poseidon, a powerful god, emerging from the sea. Medusa got scared but didn't give in to his advances. Poseidon tried to charm and trick Medusa into being with him, but she stayed loyal to Athena and refused him firmly. This made Poseidon really angry, so he grabbed her forcefully, saying he would have her whether she wanted it or not. Medusa was in big trouble. She hurried to Athena's temple because it was the only place where she felt safe. But Poseidon, who was overcome by desire, chased after her relentlessly. He was getting closer and closer, and it seemed like there was no escape. Then, out of nowhere, Iphicles stepped in between Poseidon and Medusa. He wanted to protect her, but sadly, Poseidon was too strong, and he easily pushed Iphicles aside. Medusa made it into the temple and prayed to Athena for protection. She could hear Poseidon's heavy footsteps getting closer. She was scared and cried out for help, but Poseidon was determined. He grabbed Medusa and forced her onto the altar dedicated to Athena. He did something terrible to her body and left the temple feeling satisfied. His revenge had gone even better than he hoped. Not only had he corrupted Athena's top priestess, but he had also defiled the temple, which meant a lot to the goddess because of its purity. A long time passed and Medusa found herself in trouble. Athena, in the form of her statue, was very angry and blamed Medusa for all sorts of problems. Athena scolded Medusa, saying that her presence led men astray from goodness and purity because of her irresistible self-love. Athena was furious, claiming that if it weren't for Medusa, her temple would have remained pure and her divine honor untarnished. As a result of Athena's anger, she decided to punish Medusa for bringing shame to the temple she was supposed to care for and gave her the ultimate curse. Night fell, and Iphicles, who had been knocked out earlier, woke up. He heard Medusa's cries in Athena's temple and found her sitting on the ground, crying in the darkness. She begged him to stay away, not wanting to be seen in such a state. Despite her plea, Iphicles approached her to offer comfort. However, when he touched her shoulder, a snake hidden in her hair bit his hand. Startled, Medusa turned to face him, and they locked eyes. In an instant, Iphicles turned into a stone statue, forever frozen in his tracks. This curse was worse than Poseidon corrupting her, and Medusa didn't do anything to deserve it. She wept bitterly as she clung to the statue of her best friend, but she was scared she might accidentally hurt others, so she ran away. Some people from the city saw her running, and when they looked at her, they turned into stone. Soon, everyone was talking about the scary snake-haired monster. Not much later, a group of people decided to go after her, but nobody who went to catch her ever came back. They only left behind statues as reminders. It's important to know that Medusa never wanted to hurt anyone. She just wanted to protect herself from people who wanted to unalive her. And that's why she found an old temple in a deserted area where no one had been for a long time to live alone. Gradually, she lost her human qualities, and her reputation as a terrible monster grew. To survive, she hunted small animals, living a sad life. One important day, while on a hunting trip, she came across an old statue representing the goddess Athena. It was evident that these ruins had once been a sacred temple devoted to Athena, the daughter of Zeus. This discovery rekindled Medusa's old habits, and she started taking care of the temple, showing respect to the greatness of Athena. Despite her sad life, she remained firm in her noble actions. Well, from atop, Athena watched the honorable deeds of her former priestess and felt regret for the harsh punishment she gave her. One day, while she was in the middle of her ritual, she heard someone approaching. Her instincts kicked in, and she got ready to face this new intruder. And surprisingly, this intruder was a brave warrior who didn't know what he was up against. As he got closer, the warrior had a shiny shield, Athena's shield. It was so shiny that it acted like a mirror, and he saw Medusa's reflection in it. With a swift and powerful strike, the warrior cut off Medusa's head, and she fell lifeless. Today, we know this warrior as Perseus, and he became famous for this brave act. After completing his quest, Perseus returned Athena's aegis and presented her with Medusa's head. What few knew was that Medusa carried Poseidon's divine seed, and from her blood, Chrysaor was born, a warrior wielding a golden sword. Not only that, but a majestic winged horse, Pegasus, also emerged, representing all the purity that had been taken from his mother. Many believed that Athena's help to Perseus was an act of revenge against Medusa. However, in truth, Athena only wished to free the young girl from her dreadful existence, which had been unfairly imposed upon her. Athena immortalized Medusa by adding her Gorgon's head to her shield, preserving the image of the loyal priestess beside the goddess she loved so dearly. In the end, Medusa's story teaches us that even scary monsters can have sad stories behind them. Compassion and understanding can lead to forgiveness and peace. So remember, there's more to people and creatures than meets the eye.